One factor into today's video, we're going to have a look at over the next 8 to 10 days in today's video. It's quite uncertain what's going on actually as we go through the first week to 10 days of July. Yesterday we had a run turn up from the GFS model. I didn't do a video about it, but it was there at 6 o'clock run yesterday, showing sort of proper heat wave conditions setting up for the second week of the month. Would have been really hot, but today's is completely different. I'll show you the charts in a moment, but we're in a very unreliable period. Really happening for some time. I'm not sure why this is. The models are struggling so much this summer. It's making it very difficult for me to forecast the weather this summer, I have to say. Could be to do with the El Nino, and perhaps that's the problem, that the El Nino is coming on, but it's not really coupling up with the atmosphere very good in the central part of the Pacific, and that could be throwing everything else. Of course, it's all interlinked, the weather is interlinked throughout the globe. It could be throwing the models into a bit of doubt, a bit of confusion, really, about the overall global sort of setup. Anyway, I'll show you the patterns in a moment, what they're showing for this morning for next week. Before I get on with the video page, just to make sure you advertise this video ads on my pages at GazGoBiz.com. You hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GazGoBiz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. So we've got some warm days coming up this week. This is today's maximum temperature chart from the GFS model. We're going to be up to around 22, 23 degrees today. Very pleasant summer's day. 23 is 70 Fahrenheit. Of course, we're halfway through summer now, so that's about where you would expect the temperatures to be at this point of the year, almost coming up to the hottest period. The actual hottest period on average is late July, early August. Those really are like the dog days of summer. But we're virtually at the hottest sort of average time of the year now, so 23 is about where we should be. Going to be a little bit above average tomorrow, though, perhaps going up to around 25, perhaps for England and Wales. That's 77 Fahrenheit. And then we reach the peak probably as we go through to Thursday, when temperatures, well, this is suggesting 24 and 25, but we may get up to 26, possibly even 27 around London. 27 is 81 Fahrenheit. That is above average, and it is a proper sort of very warm to hot day. But as we go through to Friday, we do start to see a change coming through then. Still quite warm in the southeast though, one last day of it, but it's cooling off, you'll notice, up to the north and the northwest, and that's as a weather system, quite an active weather system, comes through. Here's today's Arctic pressure chart, this area of high pressure over country ridging in from the main high, which is down over the Azores, of course. And as we go through to Wednesday, that high pressure still reaching through England and Wales, we're going to bring a low pressure system through to Scotland, so more unsettled up there. But then as we go through to Thursday, well, that's the peak of heat, of course, but the high pressure is beginning to weaken then, and this weather system is starting to develop in the Atlantic, and that sweeps through as we go through to Friday. Proper low pressure conditions taking over then as we get through to Friday. Here's the rain for Friday, very wet day potentially for Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England. And then that sweeps through late Friday, of course, lowering the temperatures, pushing away all of that hot weather or very warm weather, and turning it wet. And this is the rainfall forecast for 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, a proper wet sort of start to the day. And that rain could go on all day into Saturday, actually, producing really quite a wet day there across England and Wales. It's the qualifying, of course, at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, so that'll impact that. And they'll need the roof, I think, over Wimbledon as well for the Wimbledon finals, both on Saturday and Sunday. Sunday's looking more sort of showery rather than persistent heavy rain, but even so, both Saturday and Sunday shaping up to be quite unsettled days. It will have an impact on those sporting events, I'm sure, have an impact on all of the fates and summer activities that are going on across the country. Very busy time of year, of course, always this time of year for summer fates and garden parties, things like that. So yeah, we're going to have quite a wet weekend of it, and that's going to lower the temperatures then. These are the GFS temperature ensemble, showing that we're going to be going up above average for a day or so later this week. I'll show you some of the warm temperatures coming up. There's the red line, that's the 30-year temperature average, and all members of the ensemble are going above that red line over the next 2 or 3 days, so we are in for a very warm period. But there's that unsettled weather comes through, the temperatures drop, and then pretty good agreement actually this morning that we're in for quite a cool period then, going through the second month, second week of the month, in towards the middle of the month, 15th of July is just here, and that's when temperatures are starting to get back towards where they should be. Now, as I say, yesterday it was looking like this second week to the middle of the month could be really very warm indeed, very hot. So we're swinging around a lot just at the moment in terms of what's happening for the second week of July. And I've got a bit of an interest in this actually, because I'm going to be going away for a few days from the 11th to the 14th of July, so there won't be any updates at Gav's Weather Vids then, but I've got a little bit of an interest in the weather that's going to be going on through this second week of July, and it is looking quite uncertain. Today's idea is that it's quite cool and unsettled actually. These are the precipitation spikes starting from around the 5th and then going through towards the middle of the month. Quite a bit of rainfall coming through there if the ensemble is right. But I have to emphasise it's a very uncertain period that we're in terms of what the models are doing just at the moment. And of course on Thursday I've got to come up with the July month ahead forecast. That's going to be a tricky one to pin down as well. These are the temperature anomalies for the next week, the 3rd to the 9th of July, showing that we're going to be a little bit below average, as is most of Western Europe. The warmth heat is going to be over towards the east of Europe. The rainfall precipitation anomaly coming up is a little bit above average to above average there for most of British Isles, most of Western Europe looking quite wet, particularly wet unusually down across central eastern parts of Spain. That is very unusual to have above average precipitation down there at this time of the year. It should be very dry and very hot of course in central Spain, but there we go, it looks like they're in for some pretty big thunderstorms over the next week. So let's have a look at the generic charts before I go, and this is for GFS. This is how we go into Monday. So we go through weekend unsettled, obviously, with showers and longer spells of rain, particularly wet perhaps on Saturday for England and Wales. We had a very showery day for Sunday. Monday sees that low pressure sitting to the north of Scotland, so it'll still be showery, quite cool as well, quite cool air coming around that low pressure from the west. As we run through, the latest idea from the GFS 6 o'clock is that we keep the low pressure sort of around the country through to the middle of next week. It starts to sink down the North Sea there as some sort of a trough, probably brings some heavy showers or thunderstorms. Winds are in the north, so it's going to be cool and pretty showery, to be honest. And then as we go through towards the 10th of July, Thursday the 10th, idea is that the low pressure is developing in the North Sea a little bit there, perhaps bringing persistent rain in from the east, and then that sinks down across the country as we go through to Friday the 11th. That will bring a lot of heavy rain in off the North Sea, and loads of thunderstorms and longer spells of rain as well. So a pretty grim old day of it, if that's right. That's quite unusual to see the low pressure coming in off the North Sea and going east to west in that way. So not sure about that, and it's very different to what the GFS was showing yesterday. Here's the ECMWF showing the low pressure is around the country as we go through the start of next week. That's the low pressure that brings us the unsettled conditions through the middle of next week, through the weekend, sorry. And then as we go through to the middle of next week, the low pressure is still flirting around with the east of Scotland, but we're trying to reach high pressure in from the Azores, so it's perhaps drier and warmer in the south and southwest, but cool and showery in the north and the northeast. But these are difficult patterns to be pinning down as we go through to Thursday the 10th and then on into Friday the 11th. Everything is very slack really. We're more or less under high pressure as a ridge for England and Wales, but it's probably more unsettled for the north. But again, that is a very sort of difficult, uncertain pattern that the ECM is coming up with there. But it's not as bad as the GFS, but GFS is really quite an awful pattern, to be honest, for the second week of the month, whereas the ECM is not as bad as that. It's a more toned down idea, so perhaps that is the most sensible solution out of the two. Finally, with GEM, there's the low pressure over the country for the start of next week. It's going to be cool and showery. And then the GEM just wants to keep that low pressure sat over the country, really. So it's basically a case of showers and longer spells of rain there through to the middle of next week. Quite cool as well. Eventually, as we go through to Thursday the 10th and on into Friday the 11th, we pull the low pressure out to the east of the country into the North Sea. But it's still pretty showery, pressure is still quite weak there, and overall it's quite a cool and showery period. So that's probably what we've got to be facing up to for the first week to 10 days. Well, after the next day or two, which are going to be very nice, up to Friday across England and Wales, pretty warm and nice days. But from around Friday, Saturday, we're going to get this deterioration. It's going to turn much more unsettled for the weekend. And then next week, we're probably looking at quite a cool, showery week, to be honest. But the pattern is very uncertain, so it could turn on a 6 month sort of thing. But I think overall, we're probably looking at quite a cool, unsettled, showery week next week. That's all for now. 5-day forecast tomorrow, so come back to that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.